welcome to today's episode. Today is an interview with Chris Adamo, who is one of Australia's, if not the world's, leading balloon decorators. And I first met Chris about 8 years ago, and at the time, he was one of the first instructors to really teach and make organic decor popular. Since then, he has grown a business within the balloon world, which is called balloonpro.co, which helps balloon decorators design and prepare for large-scale installs. And we're talking about how he did that, why he created a technology for balloon decorators to use. And then finally, we chat about his experience as one of the judges on Australia's balloon competition show, Blow Up. So let's take a quick break and then get into this week's episode. Quick pause, because if you're running a small business and you feel like your brain is holding open 1,000 tiny tabs, this is for you. One of the biggest shifts that I've made in my business and that I've seen successful decorators make over and over is moving from doing everything manually to having a real system behind the scenes. That's why 17 Hats is our exclusive YouTube sponsor for 2026. 17 Hats puts your inquiries, contracts, invoices, questionnaires, emails, and workflows all in one place, so you're not chasing clients, forgetting follow-ups, or reinventing the wheel every single time someone books. Instead of asking, did I send that and what comes next, your business just works. The best part, it doesn't make your business feel more robotic. It actually frees you up to do things that you are meant to do, like be creative, work with clients, spend time with your family, and all with less stress. If you're ready to stop duct taping systems together and start operating like a real business, head to 17hats.com to check it out. Once you have a system, everything else gets easier. All right, let's jump back in. Welcome, Chris Adamo, finally,
Hey.
at long last. If anyone knew how hard this episode was for us to coordinate across the world, but we're finally here. Welcome to the podcast. Give us an introduction. In case people don't know who you are, I'm sure they do, but a brief introduction of where you are and like a little bit about the scale of your business, your balloon business, because you have many.
Okay, well, hey, thank you for having me. I think I said before, first-time caller, long-time listener.
Yeah.
I love your podcast. Like, we've known each other a really long time. Before you created this, it's such a wonderful idea. So I've been following along, a little stalkery. It's kind of weird, but it's great. Like, I love the personal aspect of this industry. I love because we're all like on our little islands. Well, we were anyway, isolated, not sure who we are in this world. So the very first convention I went to, I realized, hold on a tick, there are people like me, and now I can do that in the comfort of my own van and not have to not have to get out and be a part of the rest of society. But my name's Chris Adamo. I have been in the industry for far too long, but I love it. I can't imagine anything else. I think it's been 23 years now with my own business. And my mother was a florist who got into balloons in the 90s. So I would have been 14, 15, 18, 19, much more heavily involved. So add another couple of years part-time.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm based in Sydney, Australia, God's country. We live near the beach. Just to rub it in, if anyone's driving around in the cold right now, that's I'm not there. And it's great. It's a big city. There's enough money here to be successful and to do really interesting work. Not that you have to be in a big city. I know so many people who do amazing stuff outside of that. It just makes it easier.
Yeah.
So I've been very lucky to being shown this industry through my mother. And there was many other things I was considering, computing science, whatever, but I'm so glad with who I am as a person, subtle ADHD, maybe a little bit of dyslexia, which is why this was so difficult for us to arrange. Sorry. But also, I love just being active and being creative. I didn't know I was that person until I just had that drive. I had that calling, and it took me a while to realize this is the job for me.
Yeah.
It completes me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could do an entire episode just on your balloon business because you are in a big area, you're very successful, you have a large company, your staff has kind of grown and shrunk and grown again. But a lot of what I'm really interested in is kind of like your side quests. I feel like you have this solid foundation of this balloon shop, But then you've gone out and you've created balloonpro.co, which a lot of us are familiar about. We're going to talk about that. You were a
Thank
judge
you.
on a freaking balloon TV show. You have other
Yeah.
ideas in the works. You teach. You kind of were like the teacher when organic got big. Like you've traveled. You've done all these kind of outside related projects.
Hmm.
Why have you not just stayed in your little business, not your little business, your large
Yeah.
business,
No. Yeah.
but why have you not, kept your blinders on and just been wildly successful there? Like, what is it about all of those other things that have obviously interested you?
Yeah, so great questions. And as you were asking those questions, that we know each other so well, as you do many of your guests. It must be hard to like get your knowledge of what you know, and then like, well, what's someone interested in if they haven't spoken to this guy before? That's it. You do a good job of it. But the son of two entrepreneurs. Both my parents had their own businesses. So at the dinner table, that would be the conversation. And um, I was a hustler as a kid. I'd go to the golf course and collect balls and sell them on a Saturday morning at age 10 and make like $50. Like back then,
Yeah.
it's like $100. Yeah. And then we drove a little boat to school, a little tinny, and I'd pick people up from other jetties and they'd give me $1 and take them to school.
You go
And
to school in
so
a boat?
yeah. We
Oh,
lived
cool.
on the river in Sydney, and the school was 2 minutes that way. It was a shit boat. Like I'm not going to glamorize this. This is like, you know, a hot day or a rainy day, and you're just sitting there in your little thing. But there was always I was always looking for a hustle. Now when I got into this industry, it was like 2000. I was deciding to 2001. Um, I, I had a business brain, right?
Hmm.
To me, the product itself wasn't as interesting as I do find it now, but that business brain has always been there, ticking along, and the mechanics of it working along. And you heard the expression, "The grass is always greener," right? Many
Yeah.
people say that, and my sort of life philosophy is, well, I think happiness can be found with many pastures for people like me who get itchy feet. So it's I always see something and people say, well, why do that? Generally, I'm a why not guy. I
Yeah.
look at an idea and I will never knock it back. I will test it and probe it and try to break it. And if I see any options to take it further, I will, knowing that it probably won't happen. So Balloon
Hmm.
Pro, just to jump in at that,
Yeah.
was I was at a Qualitex Run event in Sydney, and Colin Stewart a million years ago was showing how to build letters and numbers out of 6-inch links. And he literally handed out, PDF or pieces of paper that we drew on that piece of paper for our vertical and horizontal lines. And it is a long time ago, and there was nothing else. That was fine. That was the resource that we all had. That's
Yeah.
how everyone did it. And my brain was like, this is silly. Right? So I studied computing science, as I said before, and I've always sort of thought, well, how can technology assist? So I went home and I created an Excel spreadsheet and I colored in, I made the cells squares and I just colored them
Sure.
in. And I had a formula to calculate how many were red, how many were blue, and so on. So it just gave a stock order and you can visually see it in a very simplified pixels kind of way. And then off the back of that, because I wasn't coding, I'm not really a coder, but I posted on a, like an Upwork kind of thing where service finding the brief as a pitch. Some guy found it in Berlin, and I paid him is like $5,000 for the first just something, and he created the thing that looked really cool, and it really surprised me how well he did it.
Yeah.
So I built that for me. Then I shared it for free for many years, and I kept adding more and more functionality. It was just something I was really passionate about. Like, how can I
Mhm.
improve this for myself?
How
I was
old
saying
is it?
before, as
How old is Balloon Pro? Like
ooh,
it's got to be like 8 or 9 years, right?
yeah. Yeah. It would have
Yeah.
been about 10 years ago that we started building it. And I
Yeah.
know there are a few designs or some software that's similar out there now, but very proud can I say this was the first. And
Yeah.
it's something that I'm not giving up on. We've just relaunched it with like modern technology with 3D rendering and all kinds of cool stuff. It's been something that even yesterday I was adding a little bit more functionality for the column where you hit a button, you choose your colors, hit a button, it'll auto swirl, right? It just
Oh,
colors it
cool.
for you, right? Or you can do blocks, right? And you can change the colors and add a swirl. So we're going to add that to arches soon. just
Yeah, for
yesterday.
people who are familiar with it, like I mean, I used it when I had like a huge job and had to calculate like duplicate walls, and I mean, and it's
Hmm.
great because kind of some of those balloons are hidden, and your math is always a little bit like fuzzy, and this is just, it makes it so easy. But like, what are some of the more underutilized features of it that
Yeah.
you think like people should be using
Hmm.
in their day-to-day balloon business? Like, you don't have to be doing a big balloon build to make this
Hmm.
part of your workflow.
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So the duplicate square pack template, I call it, where we coded that it splits up the columns, the rows into separate items for the purpose of production was a
Yeah.
game changer, right?
Yeah.
You can design something quickly, hit a button, bam, now we know exactly you make row 1, 2, 3, it had the stock count, all that kind of stuff. So for the price point, I was just like stoked that anyone can use it once, right? For the whole
Oh, right.
year
Right.
and it's paid for just in that. But then we created also all these other templates of which I don't think people know much about. And to your question, I was always interested in what my staff would do. Right?
Mhm.
How often would they use it? So the things that I found them using earlier on were that there was a stock order count for air or helium balloons on a ceiling. So air on the
Oh,
ground,
yeah.
helium. So we want to cover a ceiling of 20 by 20 feet with perhaps different, and like, all of these functions came through my own life journey in the industry. A client wanted not just 11-inch on the ceiling, they wanted many different sizes, and
Sure.
everything was just sort of 11-inch. Well, 10 balloons per square meter, which is like 3 by 3 feet for you guys, ish,
Yeah.
our staff would, how many? And I'm like, 10 balloons, but maybe 8,
Yeah,
or
right,
whatever.
right.
I
You
would
kinda just like, "Ooh," you like hope
it's
and bring
just
extras.
it's experience, and then you do it, and you're like, "Ooh, we could do more." And then next
Yeah.
time but it was just anecdotal. So when he started adding more sizes, I thought to myself, "Well, we really need. What could that be?" So I did a whole lot of math, and we calculated that the circle of an 11-inch, the circle of a 16-inch, including or excluding the diamond that's in between
Oh,
those
sure.
circles, right? The volume or the surface area of the roof, and said, okay, well, what's our total surface area, and how can that be divided by the surface area that is taken by these circles? And then that's 100%. Right?
Yeah.
Now, what about, so we changed then and the percentages, we have some 3 foots. How would that look? So a client now asks, we want to fill a ceiling. Here's an inspo photo of many different sizes of balloons. It could be, helium on weights or air on the ground. Maybe they want 2 layers. So we'll times it by 2. And I will show them that this calculator, I will copy it and paste it in the quote. That's
Mm.
100%. I'll quickly type 50%, paste it in the quote. As soon as my staff realize that they use that once every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I think most people doesn't know exists.
Yeah.
Um, Other things like columns and arches, that's our bread and butter. Like, we do a lot of really interesting work, a lot of great, sculptures and everything. I love it. But the bread and butter is columns and arches. So often I will see them designing a column or an arch for the purpose of a quote. Maybe the client is considering this shade of green versus that shade of green. So
Mhm.
you color it, you export within a minute or less, and then you swap that green for this, you export it within 20 seconds because you've already got the base. So send that to your client with the quote, 2 options.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny because there's a lot of AI stuff coming out now to market where,
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, like, do you feel, like, threatened by that, or do you feel like
yeah,
this will help me, or do you think, like, well,
yep,
it's all crap? Like, sometimes you'll be like, "Show
mm,
me a bouquet of green balloons," and it's like, "Okay," and it sends you a picture of, like, an orange car, and you're just like,
mm,
"Not helpful." Like, I
yeah,
didn't want
yeah.
that. It's, like, a
I
little
was
too unruly still.
Oh my God, I was trying to design something for where we're setting up with a hotel, like a regular product offering that they can then sell to their guests. As you
Okay.
book, you get some flowers, petals, or some balloons on the ceiling and some stuff,
Sure,
right? So
sure.
we're providing packages. So I've got a mock-up hotel room, and back because I worked in graphic design as well, so like I know how to use Illustrator and everything, and place everything and resize it. But I'm like, let's try and use AI. And I tried to do it for ceiling balloons. So it looked natural where it was floating with that sort of depth, so smaller balloons in the back and so on.
Yeah.
Just couldn't. I spent hours, right,
Yeah.
trying to prompt my way through this. So I ended up just doing it myself. So like there's always going to be limitations with AI, and it's fantastic. And you've spoken. I could literally talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
The other day, I took a photo. I was doing some smoking. It is not related, but I was smoking some food, and I took a photo of all the stuff I bought from the grocery. We had some ribs, we had some this, and I know how to do it, but I was interested. I'm like, this is what I'm cooking. Guests arrive in 4 hours. One photo. Give me the run sheet of what I put in the smoker when, and it gave me like, you set this temperature, do this in 2 hours, change this, blah blah blah. It's amazing. I love it. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that I've used it. Like it's a thing. This is the
We
world that
all
we
do,
live in.
yeah.
I'm interested. Like when someone said, "Don't do that, you're killing the environment." I looked and I realized that to generate one image on AI is like having a light bulb on for a couple of hours,
Mm.
and it made me think. Well, hold on a tick. If I'm designing that image on my computer, which is not a light bulb, with the lights on and the air conditioning running, eating
Yeah.
food, what's the harm to the environment for
Yeah.
all of that, right? And if something can actually expedite that process, then I can get out of the house and go for it, or do other things that
Yeah.
isn't using all the energy to create. So there's many ways to think of it. I think we all need to stay curious with AI. But to your question, I need to make sure that Balloon Pro sort of works hand in glove with AI technology to create a column or an arch exactly the way you want it. As the professional, you have that vision. Balloon Pro still it creates balloon for balloon with the correct stock order, with the
Right.
exact measurements. So the new
And when
version
you're
of Balloon
doing
Pro.
something at scale and you're already like a little unsure, to
Mm,
feed it to AI and then just like hope it got it right, and you're going into
mm,
like a $10,000 or $15,000 job that you're like, "Ooh," like,
yeah.
hopefully the robot knows what I was asking it to do. It's much different than yours, which is like a calculator. Like it is,
Mm.
the formulas are set.
Yeah, yeah, like full stock order, full measurements. You
Yeah.
just can't get that, and as quickly. And if
Mhm.
you're worried about the environment, then as energy efficient as well.
Yeah.
So what I have found is some of the renders of the duplicate wall now does a 3D render, which is not AI, which is really cool, and many of the templates do. But if it's an
That's
arch or
cool.
a column or something, you can actually export those individual components that you built, that you've got the stock order, you've got the whole production plan for through Balloon Pro. And then you could perhaps use them in AI to say, place these in this space,
Yeah.
right? So to me, that's that sort of symbiotic relationship that you can have between the two.
Yeah. Have you Okay, this is a little bit switching gears a little, but still
Mm,
about Balloon Pro. I mean, there's a lot of balloon people that are now selling to other balloon people. And I think it's because we create things out of necessity. Or like, I have a podcast. I enjoy doing it, but I also am marketing it to people that are my friends and my peers.
mm,
And I feel like sometimes it can be hard. Like it can be hard because you're asking for money for this thing that you are creating, but you're also still in the industry, but you're kind of coming up as now like a service provider for your friends. Have you ever found that like clunky, or do you feel like no, because you are providing this service that you really believe in? Like how does that fit
yeah.
in to you as a balloon
Well,
decorator?
yeah, that's a really interesting question and many complexities in a way. So my journey, I sort of stumbled into this, like through the
Mm.
teaching that I did with Qualitex and now Sempertex and wherever. I many moons ago created some videos, educational videos, and it all started actually on YouTube. I just sort of randomly someone posted a thing on a Facebook group and I'm like I was typing. I'm like, I gave the phone to my staff, film this, right? And then I put it on Facebook and a lot of interest, and I put it on YouTube, and then that led to the videos. So I sort of stumbled in on that because
Okay.
the videos then led to something that you know what, I'm going to hire a studio, film it properly. That's when organics just really launched, 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was, in Australia of all places, as you know. And I was proudly the very first person to teach organics in America at Float Convention, which was like, once again, I stumbled upon it. Someone cancelled on the bonus class, and
Oh,
Steve
okay.
posted,
Oh, I
right,
didn't know that.
who can do this last minute? And I
Oh,
remember
that's
being in the
interesting.
shop talking to my staff. Do you think I should do it? Because I was going anyway. And that class sold out. I remember Dante Longi wasn't allowed in, and he was an instructor because it was sold out. So anyway, we stumble upon things. To me, it was never really like an intentional. Um, here's my roadmap to become a business to business
Right.
service provider. I think we're curious and we explore and we find it. And the very first convention, I was the YouTube guy that had this video on how to put confetti in
The
a 3 foot
confetti
balloon.
gun. I
The
remember
confetti
it.
gun.
I remember it.
We don't even use it in our store anymore. We just use like a
Oh,
cylinder
I
and
made many a failed confetti gun. I was like,
yeah,
this is going to be so worth it. And then I was just like,
it looks cool.
I'm never going to do confetti balloons regardless.
I I love it because it's just like that, that sort of kind of thing.
Yeah.
But my staff hated it, and there was many an argument where I just gave up.
That's
But it
so
was
funny.
fun.
I
That
totally
video
remember that
had
one.
like 600,000 views or something.
Yeah.
So my first convention, I'm walking down the hallway with Teenage Yunta, who was an instructor, and everyone's like, "You're the confetti guy," and Tina's like, "Hold on, chick, I'm right here." So then the next convention, I was the organic guy
Yeah.
because I was posting all this huge work. Like no one had seen organic garland rigged in the roof, like no one had seen a cloud, giant thing made out of this or that. And we're really pushing the boundaries. And we're very fortunate that I had some amazing clients who pushed me. Right.
Right.
And that's a whole nother conversation, is how do we grow and develop as decorators and artists. And it's, to me, it's being allowed to, manifest that vision with others.
Hmm.
So I was the organic guy. And then at the last convention I went to, I'm the Balloon Pro guy. I'm like, am I?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So, but Balloon Pro, as I said, we stumbled upon it. Like it was this free software. I was trying to get some like SEO for my. We have had balloons.com.au, which was an online order relay network like Balloon Planet for you guys. We had 28 partners Australia wide. I built my first online order relay business, if we call it that, like Uber Eats, Balloon Planet,
Yeah.
in 1997 for my mother, and we're
Wow.
faxing orders to Melbourne and faxing orders. It was crazy. Then I built my next one in 2001, and then another one 2005. Right. I've been following through my IT experience. I've been pushing that, and I'm hoping to launch a new one soon. Right. So that's
Yeah.
in the cards. The code of the old one was terrible. We're getting hacked and blah blah blah. But anyway, we had this business with 28 partners Australia wide. It was huge. Order relay. So that was one thing. I've lost my train of thought.
No, I remember it because you told me this the first time I was at Float. Balloon Pro was a SEO thing. You wanted it
That's
to
right.
be on your website because then it
Yes,
drove
yes.
more traffic
Yeah.
from
I
balloon
remember
people, right?
Joette was like hitting me up saying early days, what are you doing giving this away for free? Right.
Yeah. And you're
Um,
like, I'm getting all this traffic and it's boosting
yeah.
my other business. I remember being like, that's so smart.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it worked. It didn't,
But
it
that was
cost me.
the idea.
I was so passionate about it. So then I thought to myself, look, if I'm going to create extra functionality to this, it's going to keep costing me a lot of money.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I combined the educational videos with Balloon Pro, and we made it a subscription service.
Yeah.
So that's the journey, how we stumbled upon that. Now, I think sort of coming back to your question, how do I feel about it? I think the price point is so reasonable that anyone to use it
Do you know what it
a
is off the
little
top
bit.
of your head? It's like a couple $100 for the year.
Yeah, it's 20 US a month or 195 a year,
Yeah.
right?
So like you said, like if you get a job, like literally if you sell one crappy small arch,
Mhm.
you paid it off. Not
Yeah,
even a
yeah,
regular arch. Like you'll pay
yeah.
it off if you use it one time.
Correct. So to me, I don't want to take advantage of trying to put it at such a high price point that
Yeah.
it is inaccessible, right? And you can even use it for 7 days for free, to try it out
Mhm.
and see if it works for you. Now I'm going to sort of go back a little bit. You were asking about what are some of the functionality that people don't use or don't know. So with the new launch, the thing I'm most excited about actually right now is the organic design tool. I'm not sure if you've tried it or seen it yet, but my staff are using that every second day. So what we
Okay.
do in our store, a customer says we want an organic garland, an arch, a column, whatever it could be, a ceiling installation, and it has a photo. Or if they don't have a photo, we Google Map and we find the front of the store, or we Google the hotel room. And I was listening to your podcast earlier about AI, how you can clean up the tables and chairs.
Yeah.
I
It's
hadn't thought
amazing.
about that. And I was so upset with myself for not thinking about that. It's a genius idea. So I was using like Illustrator to sort of create a rectangle to hide the tables and
Right. I've
stuff.
done that.
Anyway,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Um, so we have a photo, and what we would do previously was just like a screen draw, right? So there's this a little, I don't know what it's called, but we use a PC. I'm just looking what it's called now. Snipping tool. So you snip the photo on your screen, and then we would literally just draw a squiggle, right, over that space
Yeah.
in maybe one color or two. It's and my clients that know me well have a laugh. They're like, we love
So
your
they can see
squiggles.
like where it sort of goes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
call it the visual footprint. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and it gives me the opportunity to squiggle scale, shape, right? Even depth, perhaps, if you're good at squiggling. but then I will then I'll copy that and I'd paste it in the email. So here's the visual footprint of what we can cover with, and I'll copy the swatches, these colors. Okay. And then I'll say, and I always do, and here's B and C. All right. And we squiggle bigger and wider or different. And
Yeah.
sometimes if you flip something on your head, even with a squiggle, you can go, okay, well, visually it works or it doesn't, or this is better.
Yeah.
Now, we've taken that concept that I do every day, multiple times a day, and we've created an organic design tool. So we upload that photo and we just squiggle, we draw with our mouse, click, drag, and we pre-select the colors. But we also pre-select the percentage of colors. So to just say there's 50% white, 10% gray, whatever, silver, and so on. So as it draws, and you can also have thick or thin. So thick includes 24 inch, 18 inch, 11 inch, 5 inch, and
Yeah.
all the sizes between. And thin is more like 3 inch and 7 inch, something like that. So within 20 seconds, I've just drawn an arch over the doorway
Yeah.
in those colors and I've exported it. 20 more seconds, I've thickened it up and we've got a sprawl coming forward. Another 5 seconds, I've done something to the right and I've exported all three. Within a minute, let's call it
Yeah.
two, right, to be generous. I've exported three beautiful looking images in exactly the colors as a digital render, which no AI could do. AI will never do this because AI
Yeah.
doesn't understand that you can't rig there. AI doesn't understand that this surface is not appropriate, or that the client has requested thoroughfare here, or whatever it may
Or
be.
things I realize is like the balloon proportions, it's gotten better. Like they look like
Mm,
balloons. At first they were like blobby, like whatever, and you could totally tell. Now it's almost like I did one and it looked awesome. And then when I actually took a second, I was like, wait, those are like 5-foot balloons. Like those like the size of it.
mm,
That's like a 15-foot tall
yep,
column on a mailbox. Like what is happening? But
mm,
I think we can be really hasty and send that off to a client, and then all of a sudden you're like, I actually can't make that. Like
yeah,
I can't replicate that. So I like
yeah.
that yours is more controlled, by
Well,
actually
talking
by
about
us.
proportion and scale, this actually caters to that as well.
Yeah.
As you upload the photo, you type in the dimension. This might be 12 feet high or
Okay.
15 feet high. So when you start drawing, the balloons are actually in proportion to the image
Oh,
that you've
cool.
preset, right? So you can actually get depth depending on what and on how you set it. So it's really quick. So with AI, you'd have to say, I'm using Samprotex this and this, that, specific colors, all of the prompting, whereas you go click, click, you select your palette, depending, there's a couple of different brands, click, 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 your proportions of those colors, it's preset as even.
Yeah.
The thickness is preset as thick. Start drawing, right? So the other thing I love about it, not only does it help me design myself, it helps for the purpose of the quote, it helps for the purpose of the upsell. But the other thing, which is really important, it helps with my consistency of work for my staff, my team, right? Because they'll
Hmm.
have a printout or digitally, and they'll go and design exactly as was drawn, right?
Yeah.
There's no misunderstandings. Or if the client isn't on site, which is often, they have a level of expectation based on an image, and so if we deliver exactly what they want, no one's going to be upset. If we
Yeah.
sell 20 feet of garland and say it'll go over the door, right? Maybe their expectation is it's on the left side of the door, it's all above the
Yeah.
door, it's all on. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we just eliminate any possibility of misunderstanding.
I love that. Okay, so we're gonna switch gears, but before
Yeah.
we do, tell people where they can go to find this, where they can go and check it out.
Yeah, thank you. So just type in balloonpro.co. That's the URL. You can access many different videos. We've got full feature, 1 hour long videos, lots of tips and tricks. The Facebook page as well. It's a great community. Just balloonpro.co on Facebook. There's about 14,000 members there to ask great questions. There's lots of historical photos and inspiration. A few things I've added to it recently that I'm sort of trialing, just being curious, is to see what the industry needs. We've got
Mhm.
library.balloonpro.co, where people can
Oh,
upload photos of their past work that they might be proud of, including what's called the .joson file, which is the working file. So
oh, cool,
I,
yeah.
I've uploaded a bunch of my stuff. A few people around the world have uploaded their things. I remember when the Soccer World Cup came out, someone had generously offered some of their photos. You all get credited as well. So from an SEO perspective, you get cross links. If you upload lots of photos, you're gonna have lots of links to your whatever you want, your website, your Instagram,
Oh, that's
and it's
cool.
just good. It's good to share. So I actually found some World Cup like duplicate walls for like a soccer pitch that others, because it's all about user generated content, and you can have a photo of the real job and a bit of
Yeah.
description, how long it took to make, maybe some information as what you've learned along the way. So to me, that's something I'm quite excited about, a library for us sharing. I don't know if you're trying to Google something, especially like a specific balloon, the questions within Google image search, like T-Rex balloon sculpture, comma large, right? And
Yeah,
you
right.
get like a twisted thing, and then there's a T-Rex foil. It's difficult to find what you need, so that could be a great resource. The other is finder.balloonpro.co. So you can go on, register your business. It's all free, and it's a way that us in Australia I do a lot of work for some of the big telecommunication companies. So a new
Okay.
iPhone gets launched, end of year sale, whatever it could be. They'll have 110 stores nationally that we need to service. So balloon columns or arches, quite simple, but I always found it challenging using Google Maps or Instagram, so any form of search. How do I find a service provider, like a balloon artist who is maybe MVP certified, right? Or ballooncoach.com, like whatever, like with
Yeah.
all these different Zapier in the UK. So we've got credentials you can search from, but also other things such as, do they do organics? Do they do helium, delivery, pickup? Many different criteria you can search.
Oh, cool.
Twisting, and then you search by delivery location. So I need a column and some organics in Washington, right?
Yeah,
And
cool.
it'll then give you the result of who services those things there, like a Venn diagram, like a crossover of many different circles, because your delivery radius is entered when you enter the Finder Pro.
That's cool.
So yeah, I'm really excited about that too, just to see it's you have all these sort of problems that you find in the industry, and never been a better time than to try and solve them, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm excited
Have
to
there
do.
have there been any, because you've had many businesses. I mean, some we're just not gonna have time to talk about all of them. And I don't actually know if you've ever like packed it up and just called it quits on anything, or like, taken a break or shifted, or like, have you ever had something, I don't want to use the word failure, but have you ever had something where you're
I
just
love the
like,
word failure.
have you ever just been like, this just like isn't, it's not gonna work, and
Yeah.
I'm done.
hmm
Like, when have you
Yeah,
called it
yeah, yeah.
quits on something?
Yeah, look, there's nothing wrong with the word failure. I was
Right.
talking to my
I don't
kids
think it's a
about this
bad word either. I just
a
didn't want
few
to
weeks.
imply that you were.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Look, I think if someone had only failed in their life, it's a difficult thing to bring up, right?
Yeah.
But we need to fail. We need to break things to then rise from the ashes. We don't, if you're not failing, I don't think you're trying hard,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you definitely
Definitely.
shouldn't be in small business if you're not ready to accept that. So yeah, some of the, definitely ought to be balloons.com.au, which is the most recent order relay business. I was mentioning before, I'd been hacked a few times. Years leading up to that, I knew it was old. I knew I wanted to do so many things. The problem about an order relay business is it needs to be custom coded, right? Shopify, WooCommerce, you can't have something that will have automation where it'll send to other partners with that really intricate shipping models, because all that stuff is like, you're going to send it with FedEx, you're going to send it with whatever, Express or not. Like, that's how they're designed. They're designed to sell
Yeah.
widgets, not hand delivered balloon installed, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I always found it difficult. So we were custom coding. So I got to a point where I had a web developer in Russia, and I'd spent up to 100,000 Australian on with web development costs, right, to get to where I wanted to go. And they kept saying it'll be ready soon, ready soon. They kept under delivering on my expectations. I couldn't even see anything. Like, it was just really
Oh
basic after
no.
100 grand, and I had to call it quits. That was horrible. And then had another web developer who I got up to about the same money, a little bit more, in fact, and I had to cancel it too.
Oh
So I've lost over 200 grand in web development, plus my time every night. This is the thing. If you want to achieve more, you have to work at night. You have to get home,
yeah.
you have to put the kids to bed, and you have to turn the computer on. And it's awesome. You got the energy to do it. You're fired up. But when it fails, you look back at that time and you go, what else could I have done?
Yeah.
So that's been my biggest failure. But at the same time, off the ashes of that, I haven't let it sit dormant.
Yeah.
I'm still working on what could be next. Um, I'd say as well. So I had this wonderful rise in our industry. We've got 6 staff now, 7 staff. That's not a joke. Actually, the numbers are 6 and 7.
6, 7.
But yeah, yeah. But we had 14 staff before COVID. So
Okay.
COVID was this really like interesting reset for us, where I had to shut balloons.com. It was called Balloons Online, because a lot of partners couldn't fulfill the orders. They were going crazy. They couldn't get stock.
Oh,
They just
sure.
wanted,
Right.
right? So it was off the back of that. Also, then when COVID sort of calmed a little bit, I was trying to work out who I am, what's going on. We only had 3 staff. Went from 14 staff to 3.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of our regular clients that we had these great relationships, they weren't in it. They'd given up. So everything was sort of rebuilding, and then came along Blow Up, the TV show, which was this national show on Australia. We had 500,000 people watch it live for most of the episodes. In fact, I was on a remote island in Fiji at a hardware store, and the person recognized me from the TV show because the Pacific Island Network had taken on Blow Up. I understand it's
Oh,
been in
cool.
America. It's on Amazon Prime. I think you can watch it now still. And an amazing opportunity. I was brought in as the industry consultant for the show
Yeah.
to help with finding talent, equipment, what we're going to do, what kind of competitions. They had their own
Oh,
idea.
okay.
These guys, they do MasterChef, they do Ninja Warrior, they do all of the big shows.
Yeah.
So it's a real operation. We're talking $1 million, multi-million dollar production, 40, 50 people at the biggest studio that we have in Australia, in Melbourne. Huge team, like massive.
Yeah.
And to do that, I was sort of like, let's call it just frail, wobbly, like everything had changed. I didn't know who I was. So we did that,
Yeah.
and like, okay, they asked me to be the judge on the show. I'm like, I'm not going to say no, but
Yeah.
I'm not a TV guy. So it was really hard, like to action, right? The giant doors and the mist when anyone comes onto a game show, and there's no prep, no nothing. You just go up there, and all of a sudden you got to talk, and there's 7 cameras in your face, right?
Yeah.
And to critique the work of my peers and my colleagues was really hard. I love these guys,
Yes,
you know.
let's stay here for a while because I have so many questions because I haven't seen the show. I've seen clips, now I'm
Mhm.
seeing more and more like these long Instagram reels, which is like most of an entire episode. It's like I'm seeing it and I'm getting sucked
Yep.
in. But like I knew who half the people were on the show. So you must
Mhm.
have known all of them.
Yeah.
And then you're like
Yeah, yeah.
judging their stuff.
To
I would have been terrible. I would have been like, you all tried a lot. Good
And
job.
you know what's
Guess
worse?
what?
You know what's worse? Like some of these great friends of mine in industry were all hanging out together in the same hotel. But I had
Okay.
to go to a completely different place because I
Oh
couldn't
no, you were
interact.
in
I
judge's
couldn't talk to
jail.
them before the show. I couldn't see them even a minute before I went on, right? I knew they'd been there for weeks,
Oh,
so
did you
I
ever
was
wish
still
you were
the
on it? Did you ever wish you were a contestant?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't have won.
but I think it would have been maybe more fun,
But
it sounds like.
I think I would have really brought an interesting dynamic to the way I would have approached the tests,
Yeah,
each episode, because I come from a more scale, structural, more of a stacker, right? Less of a twister.
well,
And I
yeah,
had
I
had a
saw
lot of
one of the
experience.
clips that I saw was, like, the dressmaking one. I would be like,
Mhm.
"I will see myself out. Goodbye."
Yeah, it's great. So it took me back. It was hard because I couldn't interact with my friends. And
Yeah,
I had to be the mean, I couldn't be me.
yeah.
And some of them actually said to me, like, Chris, halfway through, they're like, why are you not you? Right. And I
Huh,
said, well, look, I'd go around with the executive producer, and we would talk about the work and everything. I'm like, there's this, and this, and we'd write it all down, would
yeah,
not jot down some stuff. It's all my words. Right. But then they would sort of say, well, we want to do a bit more of this, less of that. And I couldn't speak freely during the actual assessment part of every episode. It was scripted in a way. It was my words, but it's scripted. So
yeah,
it kind of came out forced, and it didn't come out, I don't think anyway, it came out genuine. And I
yeah.
wish, I wish it could have just been a bit more relaxed and I could be the happy, cool judge. But because there was 2 hosts, there were comedians. They were the funny, happy, cool, let's be
Yeah,
silly.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's my job. I like being that
yeah.
person too. So anyway, it was a challenge for me, and I came out of it going, like, this was, the peak of me in this industry. I really felt, you know, and the show didn't do so well. They never did it again.
Yeah, why
Um,
didn't it? Because they did it somewhere else first, right? They did it in,
yes,
like
so Guido Verhoef was the creator of the show. Like,
oh, I
absolute
didn't know
credit to him.
that.
Yeah, yeah, it was his concept. And absolute credit
Oh,
to him because it lifted the balloon industry to that level of, you know what, like we are as good as, the quality and of MasterChef and
yeah.
architectural
The
shows. And
cake making
we're,
shows and the cooking
yeah,
competitions.
we're a professional industry, and these are the people within, right? Let's
Yeah,
have a sneak preview into the lives of people that do this. And it's not amateur hour. It is not a hobby, gig.
yeah,
Like these are artists, and it
right.
really elevated that. So the Netherlands, New Zealand, and Australia. Nowhere else.
And then they didn't
Um,
do it anymore. That stinks.
no,
I just never said this to anyone except the people who
yeah.
knew. But like right before COVID, I was one of the few people who was asked to like early stages of a potential pilot for a balloon show in the US. And I was all excited. And then I mean, like everything
Mm.
over COVID, obviously it never happened. And now what?
It wasn't blow up. It was something else.
I don't know. I don't
You
think
didn't know.
so. But there's a couple other
Okay.
balloon people. It was like we couldn't talk about it, but of course, like I
Everyone
did.
did.
Anyone who
Yeah.
I thought might have been included, I was like, do you have any secrets you want to tell me? So there
Yeah.
was this like potential, and then it just kind of went up in smoke. But I think
Yeah.
now something like that would do really, really well in the US. But I would think that like
Yeah. Well, we came up
the
against
judging would be
MasterChef
hard.
season. Yeah. I was told if Australia did well, that it'll go in the US.
Oh,
Right?
interesting.
So everyone can hate me for it.
Way
But
to go,
the
Chris.
the show, we as I said, the first night we did about 500,000 who watched it live, which is called
Yeah.
black box numbers, right? So people watch it live, old school. Another 500,000, I'm told, watched it on catch up over the next 24 hours. But we're up against MasterChef season 14. One of the
Okay.
judges, an Australian guy, had committed suicide a week before it aired.
Oh my
Right?
God.
They had, yeah. So all the news, Jamie Oliver was on episode 1, right?
Yeah.
And it's a proven franchise. So
Yeah.
they had 550,000. We had a bit less. We're a
Yeah.
failure, right? It's like, come on.
Wow. I'm
Um,
Googling right now where I can stream this, by the way. So if
I
anyone's
think it's
listening,
on
I was going
Prime.
to ask you who won,
Yeah.
but I think don't say because I don't think a lot of people in the US know how it turned out, and we should
Mhm.
watch this.
Well,
So
can I tell you one thing about the finale though that won't give it
Yes.
away? Um, they had to do alternate endings. This is common with this is common with
Oh, so
reality
no
TV
one knew
shows.
who won, so they couldn't give it away?
Because there's live audience, right? There's all the friends and family and everything. But they
Oh.
couldn't announce the winner of like they didn't want people to know the winner until it actually went to air and the finale was broadcasted. But I knew, and a select few people because I had to decide, right? But then I was the person announcing the winner on the show on the stage with the confetti and the balloon drop and everything.
Yeah.
But I knew that only one of they didn't know that we were going to do an alternate ending. So it was genuine tears and everything. And then the producer came in and said, okay, guys, by the way, we're going to do an alternate ending. So then I had to get back up. Everyone had to lift the same energy. And I
So
had to then
someone
say
had
that.
to pretend that they won after they had just lost?
No. They didn't know if they'd won or not. I had to say that they had won. And then we had to say, hold it, this may or may not be right.
Oh my
Chris
God,
has
I
got to
would
come
have lit
back
that
up
studio on fire. That's insane.
and tell someone else that they've won with the same energy. And everyone had to act the same way because maybe they won, right? It was
Oh my
so hard.
God. And then how do they actually find out that they did win?
I think it was the day
you won and there's no
before
confetti?
it went to air. I think the team from the television company had lunch with them and announced and had to call the other person.
So they literally didn't know until it was on TV if they won or not?
Yeah. It was $100,000. It's not, it's money, right? It's
Oh my God, I'm going to watch this.
Huge.
Okay, US people, it sounds like we can stream this on Tubi with a Prime Video subscription.
Okay.
So I'm going to find it, and then I'm going to have some follow-up questions. Did you agree with the winner?
Yeah, well, I decided the winner.
By yourself?
With another. I think it was a great idea. We had a lady called Gil Minervini, who is an amazing lady in Australia who run many huge events such as Sydney Mardi Gras. What's an event called Vivid, which is like one of the biggest things in Australia that happens over winter, where the Sydney Opera House gets lit up, and so she has been the executive producer of many things.
Okay.
So like, we're talking like teams of hundreds, huge government contracts. So very experienced, and I was so glad to be able to consult with her, and we had disagreements about different things, but at the end of the day, it was 50-50 split on the vote.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Which was a very smart
pressure.
decision. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. So and unfortunately, I didn't make people happy. There was many disgruntled, but that's how it is. Like when I was the judge for,
I'm excited.
I was the judge for WBC large sculpture competition many years before this.
Yeah.
And it was all a little bit more, you just entered in your form, and there was a few people we shared it with, and no one knew. But this was much more up in the open. So
yeah,
it was tough. It took a lot out of me. But I'm still so glad for it. And I tell you what, I'm
Oh,
most proud is being the consultant for the show, because I was full hair and makeup, and I was running over to another studio where we're building like this giant life-size T-Rex skeleton, right?
oh, I
Or
did
we're
see
building
that.
this.
Like there were examples of what they were then
Yeah,
going to make,
yeah,
and you
yeah. All
kudos.
the set pre-builds were my
Yeah,
creations, and we pulled the
that's a
team
lot of
together.
work.
A lot of like great team. Like, of course, we're relying on some absolute guns in Australia who helped behind the scenes building all of that. But it was my responsibility, my
Yeah,
concepts, and I had to consistently work with the flow. Yeah, one story we had to build. Cars were completely gutted, doors, panels, everything removed, but actually working cars.
yeah.
And in one of the competitions, we had to build a skin for that car based on themes. And I remember I'm driving around the studio in this car with like no doors and no windows and everything, moving it in as we're going to do some testing as to how we can do this, that, and the other, and what materials we need. All the base plates, all the adhesives, everything I had to advise on and provide.
That's cool. That's really
Cool.
cool. How
Yeah.
long were you there? Like, how long is filming for something like this?
It was 5 weeks, but I came in many weeks
Wow.
prior, 5 weeks filming,
Okay.
but many weeks prior as a consultant. I was flying between the cities just for a few days here and there, meeting
Holy
people.
cow.
And yeah,
Holy
it's
cow.
cool. Yeah. It
Talk about
actually
a
came
side
up.
quest. That is like and your business can run by itself for 5 weeks
Yeah.
without you around?
So I'm gonna add this little caveat to it. This is a COVID thing. Back in the 1980s, my dad bought a block of land on an island in Fiji, right?
Uh-huh.
And so with COVID, I always wanted to build a house on this island, right? It sounds glamorous and everything. It was hard. Fully off grid, no power, no water, no septic, nothing. So my wife bought me a book on how to build a septic tank for my birthday. Like, this is the life, many pastures, right? So I spent 4 months with the whole family on an island in Fiji, and I had the interview live streaming with the executive producer with like 30 Fijians behind me, all trying to be quiet, right? Dust in my hair. And then I came back, we landed, we rented our house. So I had all my clothes were everywhere. I found like a balloon shirt, and I just, like, no shower, no nothing. I went straight from the airport home, got a shirt, went to the meeting with the executive producers. Right? And a week later, I was flying down to Melbourne.
That's
So
crazy.
talking about unexpected, that ended up being another 2 months. So yeah, I had a great team, and we do, and I'll talk about that quickly. To me, um, I realized in the first year that I couldn't have a business that fulfilled me. Being, I need to also travel. I need to have a life outside of this. I couldn't have that unless I
Yeah.
had a team that I trusted. Now, what I learned in the early days, and I lost a few staff by putting my foot where it didn't belong, right? I would jump in, I would give people agency, right? I
Mhm.
would have managers and pay them well, but then I would say, well, hold on a tick, I don't agree, or
Yeah.
this thing should change here. You can't, and I learned early on, you can't expect someone to run your business, stock ordering, staff management, all of it, and also be the manager.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't have two managers, right? So I would literally be told to this day when I'm coming in, right?
Mm.
Chris, we need you here. Or any decisions is a collaboration, right? Where we would intentionally say, okay, here's the problem. How are we going to fix this? What's your idea?
Yeah.
Right? Listen to them first. Any opportunity where I can empower my staff to take that agency and be the lead, I do it. Even if I don't think it's perfect, it's still really, really, really important for me, for my team and my staff and my management to feel that they're steering the ship and they're actively involved in an important part of that business. So because of all of that was in place, I didn't need to be there. The only thing that
Yeah.
changed was we didn't book the really big, complicated jobs, because I did the scissor lifts and the ladders and the really complex sculptural work. My team aren't trained for that, and they're not really that interested in that.
Yeah.
So we just knocked back what we couldn't do. That was the only change. Everything else ran perfectly.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well,
Yeah,
we are at time, but I mean, we didn't even touch on half the things that we could have touched on. Um, But balloonpro.co is amazing. There's more coming.
thank you.
You kind of touched on it. You're building more. So if people
Yeah,
are in touch with you via that platform, will they know about anything new that comes out in the future?
yeah. Look, I'm posting because we've redesigned everything, the whole
Mhm.
UI, right, user interface, and all of the components have new functionality. where they didn't before. Like I'm really solving a whole lot of problems. I'm in the zone, right? I'm so excited. I'm finally allocating the time. I'm like, this year I'm going to do it. Last year I was working on the house, right? Now I'm working on the business. So it's difficult. I'm actually finding it quite difficult. The worst skill of mine might be perhaps social media, how to get information across. So I really appreciate you asking these questions. So thank you. I'll post on Facebook or Instagram, and you'll get like 20 people watch it and one person comment. You're like, hold on, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's
YouTube, you get
hard.
like 26,000 followers on YouTube, but there might be 40 watches,
Yeah.
So I feel like I need to put some dancing shoes on and like blow some confetti and sing and dance,
You gotta make
the tap
another
dance.
confetti bazooka, and then you'll get
Yeah,
all the
yeah. I got to, I feel like I need to be tap dancing in front of a TikTok to get people's
Yes,
attention.
true, right?
And I don't want to, you know what? Like, I don't want to do that. Like,
Yeah.
can't I just sort of just have a post and say, here's something new? But I don't think that the way social media work and the engines work, that doesn't
Yeah,
get in front of people's
it is hard.
screens. So I'm old fashioned that way. I've got one of my staff. She's a lovely lady from Brazil who's studying in Australia social media and business, and she's doing a little bit of intern work for me now. And she's telling me what I need to be doing, and we'll see what
Yeah.
happens there. But if anyone has any questions at all, you can DM me. Old school. It's kind of new school, but it's old school.
Yeah.
And I'm always happy to help. Like I'm posting on, we've created a new Instagram page for Balloon Pro. Before it was just me. And many people said that's stupid. You really need to separate these two. Like we're not perfect. So yeah, I'm trying to be better with all of that and communicating. But yeah, no, the future's bright. There's lots of
Yeah.
stuff in the making, and I can't wait to. I don't want to talk about it yet because nothing's
Yeah.
really
Well,
there.
we'll have you
But
back on. We'll have you back on, and I think we
it'll be
need to do a
wonderful.
blow up rewatch where you can
Yeah,
be
yeah,
very nice and I will talk shit.
yeah. We can.
I'll
We
be
can just.
honest. There was another reality. Do you know Lily, Creative Heart Studio, Lily?
Yeah. I've met
She
her
was
many
on a
times.
reality show here with,
Yeah.
and I will die on this hill. She was so hosed. She got second place and she should have gotten first. This was before we
Mm,
were even friends. And I was like,
yeah.
that woman just got screwed.
Oh
So
no.
now I'm like brutal. I'm brutal on these reality shows, but
Yeah.
I need to go back and
Yeah.
rewatch.
Get into it. Get all the goss.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
exactly.
give away too much though.
You can
But
film in the
no, it's
behind the
great.
scenes.
I full credit to everybody that participated in the show. They gave it their all. There's tears. There's
Yeah.
people who didn't sleep at night. They're in their hotel rooms, like prepping and planning
Oh
and thinking and
God.
trying different things. And some guys who were twisters who really had to like lift their game on the decor stuff and how to do framing and stacking and like some people have never done duplets and they're doing it for the first time on
Yeah,
television.
right.
Right. And we've got people like Matt Falloon who are an absolute genius. The work that he did and the way that he did, I'm just absolutely in awe. And it's amazing to be able to watch that real time on telly. I highly advise watch if you can find all the other seasons as well.
Yeah.
Do that in New Zealand. Actually, no, it was the version from the Netherlands. One of the artists was partially blind.
Okay.
And just amazing to sort of follow that story.
Yeah.
Definitely give it a watch.
Well, cool. Well, I will. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll have you back on when you have more to share. And it was
I really
nice
appreciate it.
finally connecting.
Thank you. I really hope some of this stuff helps the listeners, and it's going to be weird listening to it myself as I'm driving my balloon van around town.